Good evening and welcome to another edition of Fireside Chats. This is a very special edition. Why? Because tomorrow is Children's Day and boy do we have a conversation for you. Now, last edition we spoke about how to make, manage and multiply money, and today we're going to talk about some of the secrets to being a successful professional. My name is Tonya and I am your host, and today I have a very special guest co-host with me. Hello Arnold. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very fine, thank you.
Now tell me, how excited are you for today's conversation?
I'm very excited for this conversation. I can't wait for it to begin.
Shall we meet our guests?
Yes, we shall.
Amazing. We have two amazing guests. They are experts in their fields. Let's get to meet them. Our very first guest is Miss Tolulokpe Babajide. She is a gender and economics inclusion expert. Welcome, Ma. So nice to have you. Such a pleasure to have you here.
And our second guest is Mr. Isaac Onoja. He is an emotional and intelligence practitioner and expert.
Welcome
to the show.
Such a pleasure to have you, sir. Now today, let's talk about how to be a successful professional. I'm going to ask you, Mr. Isaac, first. Are there actually any secrets to being a successful professional?
Being a professional means you've gone through some level of training. You've done training and practice over a period of time. And to be able to be successful, you need to have some qualities. Qualities like we'll be talking about emotional intelligence in a bit, which helps you to manage yourself and you manage other people alongside, because everybody has got emotions, and emotions drive people. So that's one secret, just to emotional intelligent. It's one secret of being a successful professional. Yes.
All right, madam. We all want to be successful, but at the same time, we are all afraid to fail. How are we supposed to recover from failure?
Thank you very much, Arnold. I believe that failure is part of everyone's journey. We cannot run away from failure. At one time or the other, we all have to experience failure. And there's no shame in failing at one thing, but what is bad is being stuck at one position and not moving forward. And I would say that failure is actually not the problem, but the problem that we see with a lot of people is not trying again. So if you failed at one thing, the best thing to do is to try again and to keep trying until you become an expert in it.
I love it. I can't wait to become an expert. And you know that thing about failure, so many people are scared. I'm really glad that you were able to break that down for us. Now, don't forget that this program is proudly brought to you by the Transformers League of Professionals. You can, of course, ask any question you like. You can drop it in the comment section, and we'll be very happy to answer your questions. Now, let me come back to you, Mr. Onoja. Many people don't know that there is a link between their success and their level of emotional intelligence. Some people go to their offices, they blow hearts, they're screaming, they don't know how to handle, stressful situations. What is that link? Can you help us draw that link? I mean, you're an expert in this field. Help us draw that link between emotional intelligence and your level of success.
Now we say managers are hired for high technical skills, but fired for low emotional intelligence. So if you're a manager or you work at a place and suddenly you become very frustrated with the people that you're working with, what happens is you won't be able to achieve the results or achieve the outcomes that you desire. So you come to the office, you're yelling at everybody. Now, it means that you're angry at something or about something, then you're yelling at people. Now, yelling sends the same message as the roaring of a lion. Just imagine a lion is roaring and you are around the vicinity, the fear that grips you. So when people are gripped with that fear, fear immobilizes. So if they are immobilized, they cannot function, then you cannot achieve. And if you cannot achieve, you cannot be successful. So emotions guide every of our activities. Every of our activities. Like Plato will say, is it under all human activity lies emotions.
Madam, we can't always be happy and productive. How do we balance our workplace emotions with our family life, especially the relationship with our children?
Oh, thank you very much. I believe that everyone that works, either you have a business or whether you work in a 9 to 5 job, will all have these complex emotions. We are all exposed to complex emotions in the context of is either we are faced with family issues, or we are faced with work issues, or we are faced with some financial issues. But the secret to being able to thrive, even in spite all these emotions, is your ability to compartmentalize, and that is very important. Just as Mr. Onojat initially said, emotions rule everything. But, when it comes to workplace, you have to know that you have to deliver. You need to deliver. So what is what is needed for you to deliver? That means your head has to always be in the game. You have to always prioritize excellence. And for you to prioritize excellence, that means that you need to always be conscious of every single details. But I also believe in work-life integration. When you mentioned are not children, as a gender expert, also as a mother, I've had instances where I have to juggle. So I'm always juggling, and a multitasker. But one thing that I've also noticed and I've realized, which is my greatest strength, is my ability to constantly not allow anything to sleep, either in my workplace or either on the children's side. So I would say that while we are dealing with all these issues, there's a time to rest also. And a lot of people forget that, and that is why they burn out, they suffer burnout. So when you get to a time where you could no longer go forward in terms of you're really stressed, you're really tired, it's okay to tell people that you're tired. It's okay to tell people that you're going through some considerable stress and you want to really shut down and take care of yourself. The secret to thriving either in family or in workplace is your ability to understand when to shut down, when to rest, and when to take a step back. And once you are able to do this, you realize that you are able to come back refreshed. You are able to think straight. But if you allow your emotions to collide, you are going to realize that you're going to really suffer burnout, and you are going to not productive either on the family side or on the work side. So I would say to anyone today, don't be too stressed to the point that everything collapses around you. Take time to rest. It's okay to rest, but at the same time to learn to compartmentalize, because that has worked really well for me in instances where a lot of things were happening. I have to put things in boxes. When it's work, I know that it's work, and I have to be really put on my bring up my A game. And yes, that is what I've done.
Let me stay with you, Ms. Babajide, because there seems to be some form of shame in saying that I want to rest. I think, and I'll limit it to Nigeria, but I know many people around the world are guilty. We take pride in, I'm so busy. Even in Nigeria, they'll say, you managed to sleep 9 hours. Me, 2 hours every night I'm sleeping. That is all I do, if I'm lucky. And it seems to be like a thing of pride, because nobody wants to admit that, listen, they take time to rest, one, or they need to rest, that's number two, which leads to a lot of burnout and also causes things like tantrums in the workplace. So I want to ask, I guess I'm asking you the why. Why do we have this problem with owning up to the fact that, listen, I'm a human being and I need to rest? Why do we have that problem? And you're a gender expert, so if you want to take it that route as well, you can do that.
So I'll start with this Instagram post that I saw yesterday, and I actually posted it on my Insta stories, and there's it is good to go as in when you wake up in the morning for you to climb mountains. And it's also good when you wake up and you are able to just go to the couch. There is comfort in both. But we live in a society that prioritizes I would say burnout. There wears that burnout as a badge of honor. Like, oh, I've not been
I'm
sleeping.
glad you said it, because if I said it now.
I've not been sleeping. I'm only sleeping for 4 hours. In fact, oh, you cannot be successful if you sleep only for 9 hours in a day. I would say that our bodies are conditioned and made by God to rest, to take rest. And if you avoid, resting, when the body needs to rest, the body will rest. And at that time, you might not be in control of that again. Then you will fall sick. Then you will not be able to do a whole lot of things that you need. This body is conditioned to sleep at a particular time. This body is conditioned to sleep. It's conditioned to rest at a particular time. So I would say that even though our society is a society that thrives on, letting shame, in when it comes to rest. I think that is where our individuality comes in, where we are able to really own up and not really mind what people say or what people think, and look for support system that supports you in resting, and surrounding yourself with colleagues, surrounding yourself with family members that understand the need to rest. When it's time for me to rest, let's say I've had a very long day at work and I'm, things that are really piled up. And my children, I actually sit them down and say, I need to rest. So do you know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to shut my door, the door of my room, and I'm going to sleep. And please, nobody should disturb me. That is also teaching one's children boundaries and letting them understand that rest is not something to be ashamed of. Rest is something, it's a gift from God, and we should take pride in resting.
I love that. I love that. They always say that pick a day to rest. If not, your body will pick one for you. Yeah. And the day the body will pick for you is not a day that's convenient at all. So you need to choose that day. Let me ask you, Mr. Onoja, and I want you to speak to employers. Because it's one thing to talk about how we should manage our emotions, how we should be emotionally mature in the workplace, but some employers are not creating conducive environments. And we have to accept that. So now talk to the employers. How do you create environments that encourage people's emotional health, environments that make people excited to come to work? Even, every work has its stresses, but you can tell the difference between a company where people are so excited to come to work and one that people are dragging, I can't believe I'm going to that place today. So how do we address employers in this regard?
Now, environment is key. What you see, we say monkey see, monkey hear, monkey do. So if the environment is not conducive, even the physical environment, there are some places you go to, some workplaces you go to, you wonder if human beings are the ones actually working here or working there. It's the ambience of a place helps people to manage themselves. You see, the human being is an energy system, and we exude energy. And the environment too, walls, colors exudes some level of energy. The world is about vibration. So if you enter a workspace where the colors are not right, for instance, people's emotions will be tampered with. As simple as color is. Now, the workstations too, how is the flow, the layout of the work environment? Is it in such a way that people are comfortable working and there are no risks or hazards around? So employers must look at this and also foster employee-employee and employer-employee relationships that are very cordial. You find some employers come to work, everybody's just greeting, good morning, sir, good morning, sir, good morning, sir, and he quickly walks to his office and leaves the people. There's no cordiality, oh, how are you, how is the family, and all those stuff. Once people know you care about them, they relax with you, and they work well. We say people do not perform until they feel safe. Once they don't feel safe, they can't work well. Some people tell you, employers will tell you, please leave all these emotions thing. We're at work, you must do your work. You cannot remove emotions from people. Emotions are there to help, to assist people function. So once you remove that, people are not able to function. So the work environment, employers must endeavor to make sure employees get the right environment and the right mindsets amongst themselves, employee, employee-employer relationship must be cordial for them to function properly. If that is not achieved, they will just be there, like we say people must work as whole persons. You cannot have your physical body there and your mind is not there. Some people are there in their body, but their mind is not there. You need to have people, spirit, soul, and body, to be able to work and function optimally.
Wow, people need to come to work as whole persons. Yes. I've never thought about it that way, but it makes so much sense, Mr. Onoja. Now, let me ask you, Ms. Babajide, it's one thing for you to have emotional intelligence, right? You are at the top of your game. I mean, you know how to communicate. It's great. But it's another thing to have a team that is at the same level. Now, no man is an island, right? You have to work with teams in most cases, right? For the most part, most people work in one form of a team or another. And you find a situation where one person is thriving emotionally, they've got their emotional intelligence down pat, but their team, they are surrounded by a group of people that lack it. Now, how can your team members' lack of emotional intelligence affect your work?
So, when it comes to everything that we do in life, it's all about teamwork. Nobody's an island, right? And we are not even created to be an island. We are created to coexist, and we are actually codependent on each other. And what I would say to the point of being the only person that is emotionally intelligent, that's a very bad spot to be at. But what I would say is that for anyone that is caught up in that kind of situation is to be able to have a capacity building approach to strengthening the emotional intelligence of the other team members. And how can this be done? Like Mr. Onoja mentioned, it's all about the flow of a workplace, but there's also a lot of training these days on emotional intelligence. We cannot all be at the same. We cannot have the same level of emotional intelligence because we are all coming from different backgrounds. We have different experiences, And but one thing is, emotional intelligence also, like every other thing, can be learned, right? So how is that team dedicated or committed to ensuring that they are also growing? Because if the other team members are not committed to also being emotional intelligence, where we have situations where there's a lot of clash within the team members, there's a lot of tantrums that is being thrown, there's a lot of ego. People are egotistical. Nothing is going to be achieved in that kind of team. They're not going to be productive. It's a waste of resources. There's no return on investment for both the employee or the employer. So one thing that I would then tell the employer is, you have to invest in building and strengthening the emotional intelligence of the team, because without it, it's not enough to be brilliant. It's not enough to be intelligent. What is important for you to be able to marry both intelligence and emotional intelligence? You can be very, intellectual, when it comes to your work, and be a very awful person when it comes to the way you relate to people, when it comes to the way you engage with people, in the way you build relationships. But you can learn. You don't have to stay in that position. One can learn. So if I were to be that person that is the only emotionally intelligent person in the team, what I would do is to ensure that my other team members are also exposed to various trainings. We have a lot of experts like Mr. Onoja now that are building the capacity of people. Maybe you want to invite experts into the team for them to be able to talk about it, and also maybe you want to have some peer-to-peer learning sessions within the team, so to be able to get out of that situation.
All right. You mentioned peer-to-peer learning, so that's one thing. But Mr. Onoja, how can an employer invest in the emotional intelligence of their employees? I know it costs money sometimes, but just give us the hard truth.
Nothing good comes easy. Like she said, training. Training is very, very important. Why do you train people? You train people to get the best out of them. Many people don't really know many of the things that they are expected to know. So we say, if you don't train them, don't blame them. So you need to train them. Once you train them, they grow. And emotional intelligence is learnable, it's measurable. You can measure emotional intelligence, you can learn it. And the good part is it's a brain science. And there's a principle we call neuroplasticity, that the brain can learn anything at any age. Like people say, in the past, they say old dogs cannot learn new tricks. That's now in the past. You can learn even at 150 years, you can learn something new. So it's to make them, engage them, get an expert to engage training, then go into, for some people, they may need to do coaching, personal coaching. For some people who have some special needs, you have to give them that. And employers must be ready to pay for it. So invest in human capital development or your employee development. Train them. I hear, like, especially for school owners, you hear school owners telling you they won't train their staff. You ask them why. They say when you train them, they will run away. Now the thing, that's a poor way of thinking. If they run away, they run to another school. So train them here. Let them run to another school and be better. They run to another. So if when they got there, they got trained to and they ran, you find that people are running with good things. But for you to say you will not train because they will leave you, nobody is going to stay with you forever. We say if you are not a plant, you will move. Movement is the number one characteristic of living things. So if you have employees that are alive, they will keep moving. Jobs keep moving. Like we say, who moved my cheese? Cheese will keep moving. And people will move with the cheese.
Please, I have a question from the previous question she asked you. They just commented it online. What if there actually is no time to rest? How are you supposed to do that?
There's always a time to rest. There's always time to rest. And because the body itself was not created, we are not machines, right? We are not machines. We are created to, and that is why we sleep. That is why the concept of sleep comes in. It would have been possible for us to work 24 hours in a day and just be working and keep on working. But at a time in the night or any other time, our body, something sends signals to the brain, telling the brain to shut down. And while you sleep, you realize that you actually grow. While you sleep, you burn calories. So there's a lot of benefits to sleeping. But it's not just sleeping. You can also rest by doing other things, taking a vacation. And I've never seen anyone that says, "Oh, I just want to work for 12 months." Of course, we have a lot of people in Nigeria because it's also a societal norm where we have, I just like working. I don't go on leave. It's only lazy people that go on leave. I don't understand that concept at all because if you don't take leave, nobody's indispensable. There are some truths we have to really constantly tell ourselves. We are not indispensable. If you're not there, somebody else is going to do their job and they're going to do it so well. So why don't you give yourself that, why don't you just be kind to yourself, take the desired rest when you need to. And rest comes in different formats. There's something we used to call in my office, we call it power naps. Power naps is when you just take 10 minutes and you're just like, oh my God. And you just realize that 10 minutes is as if something resets. Your brain has been reset somehow. And you're like, oh my God, it's as if I just woke up again. It's as if something is fresh. And sometimes you realize that you're having new ideas because you took time to rest. So you should not see rest as a burden. Rest is a gift. And while we are resting, there's a lot of light bulb moments. For example, I take walks. I love taking walk every day. In fact, in the morning and in the night. And I do it not because it's easy, not because it's comfortable for me. I do it because I have created a routine out of it. So once I'm done eating in the night, I just take a walk around my my estate. And as I'm taking that walk, is that I'm singing, is that I'm listening to music, is that I'm doing something, is that I'm moving my hands. And I would just realize that I started having some light bulb moments, and some ideas that will come into my mind. And once I get to my house, the first thing I'm going to do is to jot it down, because that is what this period has given me. So my children know that, when it's time for me, mommy, to take a walk, nothing can stop mommy, because that is the way I rest. So I may not have my 9 hours in a night at a stretch, but am I going to have my morning walks? Tick. Am I going to have my night walk? Tick, tick, tick. So that is how I rest, and I've discovered that manner of rest. So the way you rest is totally going to be different from mine. The way Mr. Onoja rests is going to be different from mine. So we all have to discover how we rest and what makes us to rest. That I would say that.
Okay, ma, for example, what if you are hired in a job, for example, H medics now, those big ones where they work 24 hours, how are you supposed to rest?
So I understand that those, the people like the organization, I don't want to mention the organization, but maybe people that work in FMCG, that's fast-moving consumer goods industry, is also a very fast-paced environment where people, are meant to work for longer hours. But if you notice, people work in shifts. Maybe they are meant to work for 8 hours and then they close. And some set of people also come in. So people do not actually work for 24 hours. People work for a particular time. However, what I'm not sure about is if these people decide to merge their shifts. You've seen people that travel out of Nigeria, you said, oh, I'm working 2 shifts together. What does that mean? That means they're picking 2 jobs together and you're working like 18 hours, almost 24 hours in a day. Why I would not say, they should stop it. What I would say is that it's important for them to identify what makes them to rest and that they give their body rest, because if you do not rest, this body is going to shut down one way or the other. And when it shuts down, you might not be in control of it. And even medical, healthcare may not be able to help you out. So when it's time for you to take the needed rest, it might be your 10 minutes walk, it might be your 10 minutes power nap, it might be anything. It might be just gisting with your friend or taking a paper back and reading it. It might be just sitting in front of Jabi Lake Mall and you just seeing the waters or seeing people. That is rest to you. So identify what works for you and stick with it and rest, even if it's just for like 2 hours.
I love that. Identify what works for you and just rest. Now, it's Children's Day tomorrow. Our kids just wrote JAMB. Many of them are writing WAEC right now, those in Nigeria, of course. And a lot of people don't believe that children need to rest. There's this thing of wake up at 2 a.m. and read. Now, Mr. Onoja, you're going to take the mic and you're going to look into that camera. And you're going to tell parents to allow their children to rest. However, you can do it professionally, sir.
Now, I have children. And I was at their school the other day when some parents were talking that they have lesson teachers for their children after school. I said, why? Why? You see, people don't understand that mental activities are different from physical activities. Our children they are overburdened with schoolwork, mental work. They are not even allowed to play. This issue of PLAY is an emergency right now. Children should be allowed to play. It is in their play that they find rest. I've asked some adults, what time during your school days were you the happiest? They'll tell you, break time. Once you get the bell, you see everybody screaming. Do you know why? The brain loves to rest. So we say, take a break or you break down. So for children, especially for children, allow children to rest. Allow them to play. Now, Children's Day is here. Allow them to, there's this unorganized play we call boisterous play, unorganized. Allow them to run, to scream. These days, parents have even stopped children from screaming. Do you know screaming is a self-defense mechanism? We find children, now even children that have grown into adults, okay, they grew and became adults. There are some adults that will be going through some very dangerous moments and they can't scream. You know why? The parents stop them from screaming. Screaming is a self-defense activity. So allow them to make that scream. Sometimes come out and just scream. It relieves you of stress. Children to go through some form of stress. The other day I was telling my son, I said, well done. It's not easy to be a student. At your level, you are doing so well. Well done. Now it's time to go to bed. It's 8 o'clock. You have to leave what you're doing. You go to bed. You see, when we talk about sleep, allow children to sleep well. All these parents are just overly ambitious to say, I want my child to be the best in this. Look, research has shown, sleep science has shown, that children that don't sleep well have less power to succeed in the future. Like many motivational speakers have made us believe that if you sleep for more hours, you will not be able to succeed. That's not true. I tell all of them, if you're one of those motivational speakers saying that, stop it. You need 7 to 9 hours of sleep to function as a human being. Today we're having fertility issues. Do you know one of the causes of infertility is lack of proper sleep? Sleep, as simple as it is. People are having brain tumors because they're not sleeping well. So for children, let's not drive them to that point that they get frustrated about life. Allow them to enjoy, rest, and play. It's Children's Day.
Okay, it's almost time to wrap up. But before we do, Madam, I have to ask you. There are mistakes that the older generation made trying to become successful professionals. How can you advise my peers and I to avoid such mistakes?
So thank you very much, Arnold. What I would say to you and to other children is, number one, don't afraid to dream big. You know, when we were young, one of the things, you're either a doctor or you're an engineer or you're a lawyer or you are nobody, so to say. But now there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of, you can be whoever you want to be. When I mean career-wise, you can be a footballer. You can be an artist. You can be whoever. You can dream to. Don't be afraid of your dreams. Whatever, as long as you can think it, you can be it. But what is important, even as you're dreaming it, is that streak of excellence. Everything that you put your hand upon, you have to ensure that you're excellent. Even, you know, so you're dreaming big, you're not afraid to dream, but you're also ensuring that you're putting your best foot forward. You're ensuring that you are the best. And when I mean the best, I mean that you're ensuring that you're doing everything that you can do within your human, mind to be the best. And the second thing that I would say to you is, don't be afraid to fail. It's okay to fail. Then, anytime we maybe collect our report cards in school, we used to call it report cards now and then. We're always very afraid. I, for one, I'm always very scared to go home because I know that I've not really done well. And there's this element of shame that comes because I've not really done well in mathematics. I wasn't good in maths. And I'm still not good in maths anyway. and there's this element of shame around it. And, it was also reinforced by the teachers, by people. Oh, you're not good at maths. Oh, have you ever seen anybody that will excel without maths? And then because I was so ashamed in my failure, it didn't even give me the opportunity to explore the opportunities within mathematics. Maybe there was another way for me to learn maths. I never explored that. Maybe the way I was learning maths, maybe that is where the problem is. I'm a literary person. I understand my world by words, by reading, not by numbers. Maybe that is how I should have been taught mathematics. So don't be afraid to fail. But in your failure, be creative to learn about how to come out the best in whatever you do. And the third thing is, you know what? Be fearless. You know, when we were growing up also, one thing that was really a part of how we grew was this fear. Fear of failing, fear of being laughed at, fear of being this, fear of that. But if only we can remove, and you mentioned it, Mr. Onoja, if only we can remove the elements of fear and know that we are smart, we are confident, you have to affirm yourself, not necessarily waiting for anybody to affirm you. You have to keep telling yourself, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I'm brilliant, I am, look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself these words. Don't wait for anybody to tell you these words. Because you are, and what you think is what you eventually become.
It's okay to fail. And they're writing Waekma. But they will not fail. They will do well. For all of you who are writing Waek. Mr. Onoja, same question to you. Right? How would you advise? I mean, Arnold told me yesterday that he actually would like to be a pilot. Right? And yes, I'm sure in many different professions, including piloting, they have made a couple of mistakes. And you'll hear a lot of times the older generation telling us, this is what you do. If you want to study well, you have to wake up at 2 a.m. But that doesn't necessarily work for everybody. So what would you actually say now are some of the mistakes that maybe your generation made that you wouldn't want Arnold and his peers to repeat?
Now, you can be whatever you want to be. Whatever you want to be, you can be. And Socrates said, he said, man, know thyself. Once you know yourself, you'll be able to direct yourself, you'll be able to give yourself. And in all that you do, choose yourself. You are the most important person. Choose you. Don't choose another person. We have what we call bio-individuality. We are all different in our biological makeup. Different. So, I'm a pharmacist. I'm a pharmacist. And I knew what we suffered back then in school. With the way we read and all that. It's quite tough. If you want to become a pilot, you can be. Even today, if you take the decision to say you want to go to the moon, you will get to the moon if you are able to keep that thought and that dream and pursue it to a logical conclusion. So there's nothing you cannot be. And parents, don't allow other people influence you negatively against your children. Don't wake up your child at 2 a.m. when the child just slept at 8 because it's right now. You see, what we create problems when we start late. So start early. Once you start studying early, you don't have to do crash work to be able to. So once you start late, you have to double your effort. And in doubling your effort, you lose more. Because the human brain does not learn in chunks. It learns in bits. Bits, then it accumulates. But if you want to push everything at once, you may lose many more of the things that you try to push. So just follow what works for you. Start early. You have assignments, do them. What you need to read that you don't, the things that you don't know, you cannot really, you don't really understand, go for them, understand, learn them, then you move ahead. And always remember that you are different. And your difference is your power. Everybody has a difference. And that difference is your power. Somebody might just say, this boy is like this. It is what they are saying that makes you different. So don't throw away your difference. Keep your difference. Strengthen your difference. Grow your difference. And you become very powerful.
Wow, your difference is your power. A very fantastic way to wrap up the conversation for today. This has been Fireside Chat, proudly brought to you by TTC League of Professionals. It's the Children's Day edition, and I enjoyed having Arnold here with me. Thank you so much to our special guests, Ms. Tolulokpe Babajide and Mr. Isaac Onoja. I think you dragged many parents, you dragged many schools. people are not resting, but I hope after this session, you're going to take some time to rest. This has been a lovely, lovely conversation with our special guest. We are wrapping it up. Oh, I think Arnold would need to, yes. All right, so we are actually wrapping it up. Arnold, did you enjoy?
Yes, I did.
So what is the one thing that you asked quite a few questions. What is the one thing that you picked up from this?
I picked up a lot of things, like the mistakes I'm supposed to avoid when I'm growing up, that I should not be afraid to fail when I'm in my workplace, and how to handle my emotions with my children in the
Amazing, amazing. This is Fireside Chats from the TTC League of Professionals, and don't forget to follow us. Tell them about it.
Don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube page and follow us on our Facebook and Instagram
At TTC League of Professionals. Until the next edition of Fireside Chats, bye.